You think money makes you untouchable, huh? I shouted, my voice cracking through the marble hall like thunder. The receipt trembled in my hand, wet from tears I didn't even feel falling. But the billionaire didn't flinch. He just stared at the glowing screen, numbers that made his breath hitch, eyes wide like he'd just seen a ghost. Outside, sirens wailed. Inside, silence. And then, he whispered, "That's impossible. She wasn't supposed to have access." Now, let me tell you how this incredible story unfolded. Subscribe, share your heart in the comments, and tell me where you're watching from, because your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's begin. Downtown Pasadena, California. A warm Friday morning, sunlight spilling over clean sidewalks, the buzz of life and money in the air. Layla Carter, 27. Stood in line at the Bank of America branch across from the corner Starbucks, her hair tied in a loose bun, wearing a faded denim jacket and thrifted jeans. Her palms were sweaty, her chest tight. She wasn't here for much, just to check her balance. Again. It had become a quiet ritual every Friday, not because the number changed much, but because she needed proof she was trying. Proof that one day, the hustle would finally mean something. Behind her, a man cleared his throat. "Some of us have actual business to do, sweetheart," he said. His tone sliced through the air. Smooth, practiced, entitled. Layla turned slightly. He was tall, maybe mid-50s, sharp gray suit, Rolex glinting. His name tag from a charity gala still pinned crookedly to his lapel. Richard Halston. The Richard Halston, billionaire investor, known across LA for his chain of boutique hotels and for helping rebuild communities after disasters. Layla forced a polite smile. "I'll be quick." Richard chuckled, eyes flicking to her thrift store shoes. "Take your time. Checking a few dollars shouldn't take long." A few heads turned. Her stomach sank. The teller, a young black teenage girl named Zuri Williams, shot her an apologetic glance. Zuri had seen this 100 times. People like Layla, trying to stay invisible while the world treated them like background noise. Layla leaned forward and whispered to Zuri, "Can I just see my balance? I think something's off." Zuri nodded gently. "Of course, ma'am." She typed on the screen. The moment stretched. Richard scoffed under his breath. "Jesus, it's a welfare check, not a trust fund." Layla's cheeks burned. The air felt thinner. Then Zuri froze. Her hands hovered mid-air. Her eyes widened at the monitor, reflecting green digits she couldn't quite process. Ma'am," she stammered. I think there's a mistake." Layla frowned. "A mistake?" Zuri turned the screen slightly. The number glowed. $48,000. The line behind them went dead silent. Richard laughed. "Oh, come on. That's ridiculous. Some hacker probably—" But Zuri shook her head. "It's real. Direct deposit cleared this morning. From—" She squinted, reading the source. "Halston Development Holdings." Layla's heart stopped. She turned slowly toward Richard. He had gone pale. "What kind of joke is this?" he snapped, stepping forward. Zuri stepped back, instinctively protective. Layla could barely breathe. "That's your company?" Richard's jaw tightened. "Someone's going to lose their job for this." From the corner of the room, Police Chief Daniel Reyes, who'd been at another counter finalizing a mortgage document, noticed the tension. He stepped closer. "Is there a problem here?" Richard spun toward him. "Yes, a major one. Someone just transferred millions from my company account into this woman's." Layla flinched. "I didn't—" "Save it," Richard barked. "I've seen scams before." Chief Reyes raised a calm hand. "Sir, let's take this outside." But as they moved, the ATM near the exit flickered, a backup mirror of the same account data. And there it was again. Same deposit, same source, same timestamp. Layla's voice broke. "Why would your company send me anything?" Richard stared at the screen, confusion creeping into fear. He opened his phone, tried logging into his corporate app. Error message, locked. His chest heaved, and then came the whisper, low but trembling. "This can't be happening. Not after what we did 20 years ago." Layla's breath caught. "What you did?" Zuri blinked between them, unsure if she should stay or run. The tension hung thick. Money, guilt, memory, and somewhere in the distance, sirens started growing louder. What would you do if millions suddenly appeared in your account, and the man who mocked you was the one who sent it? Comment below. We're reading every story. Police Chief Daniel Reyes insisted they step into his small office at the back of the Pasadena branch. "Everyone calm down," he said, closing the glass door behind them. "No one's under arrest, yet." Layla sat stiff in a plastic chair, heart pounding. Richard paced, barking into his phone. "Call it. Lock every account under Halston Development now." Chief Reyes held up a hand. "Mr. Halston, yelling won't fix anything. Ms. Carter, did you authorize any transfer?" Layla shook her head. "I don't even know how to spell Halston Holdings, let alone steal from it." Richard glared. "Then explain $48 million showing up in your account overnight." Zuri knocked softly and peeked in. "Sorry, Chief. The system verified the transfer. Federal clearinghouse, not spoofed." Richard froze. "That means it's legitimate." Reyes nodded. "Which means someone inside your company sent it." Silence. The air hummed with fluorescent light. Richard's face softened for the first time. Something almost human cracked through the arrogance. "There's only one person who could have done that." "Who?" Layla asked. "My late business partner, Eleanor Phelps. She handled all the legacy accounts. She passed 6 months ago." Reyes frowned. "Then how could she authorize it?" Richard rubbed his temple. "Unless she scheduled it, before she died." The room went still. Layla leaned forward. "Why me?" Richard finally looked at her, really looked at her. "What's your mother's name?" "Vanessa Carter," Layla said slowly. He blinked, stunned. "From East Pasadena? Worked housekeeping at the Belmar Hotel in the 90s? Layla nodded. "How do you know that?" Richard sank into the chair opposite her, voice barely a whisper. "Because I owned that hotel, and 20 years ago something happened there. Something I buried." Reyes folded his arms. "You're saying this money's connected to her mother?" Richard nodded, guilt heavy in his eyes. "Your mom was fired after a guest's jewelry went missing. I let my security team pin it on her. She begged me to believe her, swore she'd never stolen a thing. I didn't listen. She lost everything." Layla's throat tightened. "She worked double shifts to raise me after that. She died thinking it was her fault." Zuri's eyes glistened through the glass. Richard swallowed. "Eleanor Phelps always said I owed that woman a debt I could never repay. Maybe she found a way, before she passed, to make me face it." The silence ached. Layla looked down at her trembling hands. "So that money was guilt money? A posthumous bribe to clear your conscience?" Richard shook his head. "It was justice. Eleanor must have set an automated payout from a dormant equity account. She named Vanessa Carter as beneficiary." Reyes studied him. "But the account listed Layla Carter." Richard met Layla's gaze. "Eleanor must have traced the next of kin. She wanted to right my wrong." Layla exhaled shakily. "So you mocked me. In the same building where I was finally being repaid for what you did to my family." Richard's shoulders sagged. "I deserve that irony." A long beat passed before Reyes broke the tension. Here's what we'll do. Ms. Carter, that money stays frozen until we confirm its origin. Mr. Halston, I'll need your cooperation. Richard nodded numbly. Anything. As Reyes stepped out to make calls, the office fell quiet again. Layla's anger simmered, but beneath it was confusion. Why now? Why me? Life doesn't just hand out miracles. Richard smiled bitterly. Maybe sometimes it does, just not in the way we expect. Zuri returned with bottled waters. Y'all need a minute? Layla managed a weak smile. Yeah, thanks. Zuri. When the teen left, Richard leaned forward, his tone lower, vulnerable. You know, I thought money fixed everything, but sitting here, realizing how much pain my arrogance caused, he looked away. 48 million feels small. Layla studied him, the man who'd humiliated her minutes ago now cracking open like an old book. Then do something real with it, she said. He met her eyes. Like what? Help people like my mom. Start with me. Not charity, partnership. Richard blinked. You'd work with me? I don't forgive you, she said quietly. But maybe learning how to build instead of break could be the start. He nodded slowly, a spark of redemption flickering where pride once lived. Outside, cameras were already flashing. The rumor of the mysterious bank glitch had leaked to social media. Reporters swarmed the sidewalk. Chief Reyes re-entered. We'll need to move this to headquarters. Press is outside. Richard sighed. Of course they are. Layla gathered her things. Her hands still trembled, but this time it wasn't fear. It was momentum. As they walked out together, he whispered, Your mother once told me, one day you'll learn humility the hard way. She was right. Layla didn't answer, but the corner of her mouth lifted just slightly. If someone who ruined your family's life tried to make things right decades later, would you accept it or walk away? Drop your answer in the comments. Your perspective might help someone else decide. The afternoon sun flared white across the Pasadena Police Department's parking lot. Cameras flashed from behind barricades. Hashtags were already trending. #bank balance, mystery, and #millionaire mistake. Inside, Layla and Richard sat across from each other in a gray interview room. Chief Reyes moved in and out, juggling reporters and phone calls from federal investigators. For the first time in hours, they were alone. Richard rubbed his temples. My PR team says this could tank my company. They're calling it embezzlement by compassion. Layla folded her arms. And I'm the prop, right? The broke girl who ruined your empire. He looked up. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. Her voice cracked. You mocked me. Then you tried to rewrite the story like you're some hero trying to pay back a sin. He exhaled hard, guilt shading his face. I deserve that. But I also need to keep my employees fed. If the press turns this into a scandal, you'll lose money. Hundreds of jobs. He finished softly. She stared at him, the silence stretching like a wire ready to snap. Chief Reyes returned. Bad news. Treasury flagged the transfer. Until we prove intent, both of you are under investigation for money laundering. Layla's eyes widened. Wait, what? I didn't do anything. Richard shot to his feet. She's innocent. This was my company's fault. Reyes raised a brow. Then you'll both need to cooperate. That includes a formal statement tomorrow. When he left, Layla's composure cracked. I can't do this. I can't be dragged through headlines for something I didn't even ask for. Richard reached out, but she stepped back. You don't get to comfort me, she said, voice trembling. You built your life on people like my mom being disposable. He looked away. You're right. The fluorescent hum filled the space between them. Then his phone buzzed, A news alert. He read it, face draining of color. They froze my personal accounts too. Layla blinked. Meaning? Meaning if that transfer isn't reversed, I'm bankrupt. Her heart twisted, not in pity, but in disbelief. So all this time you were pretending to be untouchable. He laughed bitterly. Looks like the universe found the reset button. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Layla whispered, Maybe it's not about punishment. Maybe it's about perspective. Richard frowned. Perspective doesn't pay bills. Neither does pride. That hit him like a slap. He looked at her, really looked at her. You sound like Eleanor. Your partner? He nodded. She used to say, money's a mirror. It shows you who you really are. Guess I never liked my reflection. Layla softened, but before she could respond, Chief Reyes burst back in, holding a printed email. Halston, this came through internal audit. You'd better explain. Richard read it, eyes widening. No. What? Layla asked. It wasn't Eleanor. It was my son. He rerouted the equity account. Your son? Richard sank into the chair, stunned. He's 23, works in IT for the foundation. He must have found the file Eleanor left and executed the transfer to force me to do the right thing. Layla processed that slowly. So the apology wasn't even yours. He looked at her, eyes wet. I didn't know. I swear. She shook her head. That makes it worse. You've had years to own what you did. Your kid had to shame you into it. He started to reach for her, but she pushed back her chair. We're done. Layla, no. You said maybe this was justice. Maybe it is. Let the system take what it wants. She walked out and past cameras flashing through the glass doors, her face already appearing on smartphone screens. Outside, the air smelled of asphalt and smoke from a distant brush fire. California in December, beautiful and burning. Reporters shouted her name, but she didn't stop. Behind her, Richard stayed in the room, staring at the frozen monitor displaying his company logo, his empire unraveling pixel by pixel. He whispered to the empty air, Eleanor, Vanessa, I failed them both. If forgiveness means risking being hurt again, is it still worth it? Share what forgiveness means to you in the comments. Someone reading might need your truth. 2 weeks later, the December fog rolled in off the Pacific, turning Beverly Hills into a haze of headlights and shadows. The story had burned across every platform, news tickers, YouTube commentary channels, late-night talk shows. The bank balance girl was trending again, this time with a softer edge. Layla Carter hadn't left her apartment much since the investigation started. The $48 million remained frozen, but the silence had been louder than any verdict. Each day she scrolled through hundreds of messages, some calling her a scammer, others a hero. She didn't feel like either. A knock at the door startled her. When she opened it, Chief Daniel Reyes stood there in plain clothes holding a file. Didn't mean to scare you, he said. Got news. She let him in. They finished the audit, he said. The money came from a dormant charitable trust under Halston's company. His son did initiate it, but legally the funds were designated for restitution cases. So, it's mine? She asked, barely breathing. Reyes nodded. Technically, yes. You could walk away with every cent. Layla sank onto the couch. But? He hesitated. Halston's company's collapsing. Hundreds of employees. His son's facing charges for unauthorized access. Layla rubbed her forehead. You're asking if I'll give it back. I'm not asking, Reyes said gently. Just telling you what's at stake. 2 hours later, Layla stood outside the Spelling Manor, Halston's estate, a castle of stone and glass perched above L.A. The gates creaked open. Richard Halston waited on the steps, thinner now, gray at the edges. No cameras, no entourage, just him. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. I wasn't sure I wanted to, she replied. He nodded toward the view. You can see the whole city from here, but when you're up high too long, you forget what real life looks like. Layla folded her arms. You invited me here for a confession or another headline? Neither. He handed her an envelope. That's the deed to a building downtown. Used to be one of my hotels. It's debt-free. I'm transferring it to you. Layla blinked. Why? Because I was wrong, he said simply. And because Eleanor would have wanted this to mean something. Turn it into a shelter, a startup, whatever you want. Just make it better than I did. She stared at the envelope, her throat tight. You could have just sent a lawyer. He smiled faintly. I tried doing the right thing through other people. That's how I lost my soul. They stood there in silence for a long time, the wind rustling through the palms. Finally, Layla spoke. You're still under investigation. He nodded. I know. I'm cooperating. Whatever happens next, I can live with it. First time in my life I can say that. She looked out over the city lights, shimmering like 1,000 tiny balances waiting to be checked. My mom used to tell me, what's meant for you won't miss you. I used to hate that line. Thought it meant just waiting around for luck. Richard's voice was soft. What does it mean now? That maybe sometimes what's meant for you is the truth. He nodded, eyes wet. And what's meant for me is finally facing mine. A month later, the city moved on. The investigations ended quietly. No charges filed against Layla, limited sanctions against Halston's firm. The media forgot, as it always did. But a new sign went up downtown. Vanessa House, Community Innovation Center. Inside, Layla walked through the renovated lobby, sunlight pouring across white tiles. Teen volunteers painted murals. Zuri, the bank teller, handled intake forms with her usual calm smile. Richard was there too, in jeans and a work shirt, helping install computers for the after-school program. You still sure you want me around? He asked. Community service looks good on your record, she teased. He laughed quietly. You know, the funny thing about checking balances, turns out the real ones aren't in numbers. She smiled. Yeah, they're in people. He nodded toward the wall where a framed quote hung. Justice isn't payback, it's restoration. For the first time, he looked peaceful. That evening, as Layla locked up, the little girl from the neighborhood, Maya, maybe 8 years old, ran up, waving a report card. Miss Layla, I passed math. Layla knelt and hugged her. That's what I like to hear. Maya pointed at the building sign. Who's Vanessa? Layla looked up, smiling. My mom. She finally got her good name back. The girl grinned. She must be proud. Layla's eyes glistened. I think so. Later, she sat on the front steps, watching the California sky fade to pink and gold. Richard joined her, handing her a coffee. So, he said, how's it feel being the woman who broke the internet and built something out of it? Layla chuckled. Exhausting, but kind of amazing. He smiled. I never thanked you for giving me the chance to do one thing right. She looked at him, warmth softening her voice. You did more than that. You showed people change is possible, even when it's messy. He nodded, staring out over the city. Guess we both learned a thing or two about balance. Yeah, she said softly. The kind that matters. If life suddenly handed you justice, and the person who hurt you wanted to make it right, would you forgive, rebuild, or walk away? Share what balance means to you in the comments. Your story might change how someone thank you for staying until the end of this story. If even a single moment, a look, or a word touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what part made you feel the most. Your words, your support. They're what keep this family of stories alive. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. The next story's even deeper, more powerful. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Click the video on your screen. Your next story begins there.